start to paint, and all of a sudden I feel this release in my mind. I feel everything flowing, and I feel almost like I'm not myself anymore. I become the painting, I become the action of painting. It's very physical. The gesture, you become the gesture, the movement between your head, your arm, this whole thing. It's a way of objectifying what is inside of you that you cannot objectify another way. So I find that the most pleasurable aspect of painting is that it's very liberating. I live in Midtown Manhattan, off 42nd Street. I live in a very tall building. The advantage of that is that I have a beautiful view on the Hudson River. I always liked to paint when I was little, and it was sort of like my secret thing. I like to go upstairs in my room and paint, and it was sort of like a release at the end of the day. I grew up in Strasbourg in France. It's on the German border, actually. It's part of Alsace. There's a very rich folklore in Alsace, and when I was little I rejected it. I thought it was so ridiculous and backwards, but now actually I like it a lot, and I have incorporated in my art a lot of aspects of the folklore. So even though I didn't like folklore when I was growing up and I rejected it, I realized over the years how it had been a part of me, and now I insert it a lot in my art because it's so odd how we often, the things that we reject are the things that we then really like. So I think what I'm trying to create is an idea of chaos and order at the same time. Something that is fluid and free, but finding the right balance. You know, you don't want to lose total control over the organization, but you want it to be spontaneous, though. I don't like anything to look contrived and not full of the momentary the moment when it appears and it hits right. I paint every day. I don't always have a full day, but let's say I draw at least an hour to 3 hours. I find that if I paint more than 3 hours, I tend to do mistakes and repeat myself. I also love to write. This has always been the other side of painting for me, is that I spend a lot of time writing. I find that I like to do both. I like to write, I like to paint, but when I've exhausted writing, I paint, and when I've exhausted painting, I write, and they seem to work together. So I never have to deal with the white page or the white canvas. So you see now, as I'm painting this background, I'm starting to have a little idea of what I could be painting. Whether I paint a face, a landscape, or an abstract painting, it's always the same thing to me, because it's the mood I'm after. You know, it's almost like I'm more like a songwriter or a musician that uses paint instead of music. And it's the same when I write or when I read. I like writers that create a sort of trance, a sort of atmosphere that helps hidden truths to emerge. So it's sort of like magic. So at this point we have some lines on the canvas. I'm not quite sure yet what I'm going to do, but it's always good anyway to have a dark base. You know, I always have that feeling that I belong to another land, and that land is coming through in my art. And so the pursuit of discovering that land and expressing it, making it alive, I think is what motivates me a lot. You know, I cannot live this earth until I've done that. Ooh, and now I'm putting blue on the canvas, and already I feel that I'm already reacting in a very happy way to the color, the feel of the paint. As soon as I paint, I get happy. I'm excited. It's like eating pasta or something. I moved to America to study American literature. I was studying a PhD in comparative literature, which was very abstract and very difficult. And I started drawing, painting, instead of doing my homework, and borrowing books at the library to learn how to draw better. When I moved to New York and I started taking classes at night, and from there I just did everything I could to keep this interest alive. I'm sort of like in the mood to do a very bleak landscape, something that is very shortcut, clear, intense, very impact-like. Ba-boom. At different times in my life, other artists have influenced me. But I would say the artists I have loved the most were Edvard Munch, Otto Dix, Eleanor Finney. What I like about someone like Eleanor Finney and the women surrealists, like Eleanor Carrington also, is when people told them that they were surrealists, they said, no, we're not surrealists, we're just painting who we are. It just seems like surrealism to you. And I thought, yeah, that's exactly how I feel. My paintings may be odd, but this is who I am. Okay, green, and now I'm going to put a bit of red in it. And white. See, I want to take good care of my paint sometimes. Anyway, it's a little dark and it's a bit brownish, but it's good because it's good to have layers. So this is going to be my bottom layer. It's going to be like this brownish, purplish color. Ooh, I kind of like it. It doesn't look gray at all, but now I've changed my mind. I'm not going to do a gray Hudson. I'm going to do a Hudson that's vivid and blue. I love that blue. Oh my God, I love how I mix the colors with that. Oh, beautiful. I was probably going to change 10 times before I find what I want, but I like it. Maybe I'm lucky this time. I'm going to get it right the first time. So I just like, to discover the colors as they appear on the canvas, and it just think looks beautiful. These beautiful sensual colors that bring things inside of me to life. What makes an artist is not to be able to copy reality, it's to have something inside of you that needs to come out, and you work at refining the medium. It's more important to have something inside of you and struggle with the means to express it than to have the perfect means of expressing it and have nothing to say, or have nothing, not to have an energy inside of you, or a vision or a struggle that needs to come forth. I try to have a higher expectation of myself, and I try to live by what I feel in the moment is right. I go by my feelings a lot, so I'm always sort of listening to what I feel, and that influences a lot my personal life. It's not easy because let's say that maybe I don't have principles that are very solid. I shift a lot according to what I need. So I think maybe you need a lot of freedom when you're an artist, because if you block yourself and you put too many restrictions on yourself, then you're not going to be able to have this freedom inside of you that allows you to go places where you can feel things and express them afterwards. So I created that gray color, that's not gray, that's really purplish and blue. And it's sort of like a reflection of the sun in the water, but we don't see the sun, and yet by not being there, it's still there. We receive a reflection of the light from the sky that's very bright. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep that sunlit sky as it is, I don't know exactly yet. I found at the beginning I was often criticized a lot, and that bothered me a lot, and I felt very bad. Because even in the art world, there's so much conformity. You know, people want you to paint the way they see fit, or they want you to do a certain type of art. I've been criticized so much for not being a conceptual artist. Like, you know, what you do is so passé, nobody paints like this anymore. I mean, why do you do that? You know, just, and especially the older I get, I realize that you really have to do what satisfies you. And then if it satisfies someone else, good, but don't worry about that. Satisfy yourself first. So I like this painting because it represents, I think, a recurring theme in my art, which is this sort of expressionist, almost black and white type of creating an atmosphere, a feeling. It's a mood, and there's something mysterious about it, and I think I really created it well in that painting. The faces of ghost-like and mysterious. We don't know exactly if they are dreaming, if they are awake. They seem to be in and out of reality, and these people are, you're not quite sure also what kind of gathering is it. Is it a family gathering, or is it some sort of cult gathering? But maybe a family is a form of cult. And unfortunately it fell one day and it got ruined, but I fixed it a little bit. And so this is all this sort of infinity. It's all the things we don't know in us, all the uncharted map of our identity. It's the future, but it's the past. This is just a moment, a balance between what lays unconscious and what is turning and becoming conscious. This is a portrait I did. It represents a woman at a party. This was in my, I would say, for a while I really liked Otto Dix. He's a German painter who is very realistic, but also in the sense that he expresses the emotions on the faces of the people he paints. You have a sense of what goes on inside of them, and I really like that. So I think he influenced that painting. So it's about a girl at a party, and she's apprehensive, you know, she's drinking. There's a sense of gloom a little bit and fear at that party. You don't know exactly what's going to happen. She's not feeling safe. I was trying to represent her tension, her fear, her sense of unease. Because for me, that's what's interesting in portraiture. People always try to influence you. They want you to paint the way they paint. And I always knew I had my own way. And I just want to paint my own way. Tonight, this is an opening in Park Slope at the Red Horse Cafe, where I have been exhibiting 10 paintings for the last month. We're setting up, people are starting to arrive. Very excited because this is a show of small works, mostly women portraits and a few cityscapes. And they all have the same light in them, a sort of post-apocalyptic white, bleak light. They're introspective and they have a certain mood about them, as you see.